Hello again, it's nice to have you with us on this channel. Leadership failure. We have seen time and time again that leadership permeates the very essence of society, and that if any human organization is to survive, the tenets of leadership must blossom to a point where nothing is left obscure. We cannot be oblivious of the fact that effective leadership has always been at the center of our various strides of progress. It has created icons and Trojans in numerous fields of human endeavor. Many world leaders have written their names on the appropriate side of history through their works and their leadership qualities. Yet, there are others who took their nations to the precipice, killing millions and committing the greatest genocides known to mankind. Now, how can we ever forget people like Charles Taylor, Mussolini, Idi Amin, Jonas Savimbi, Saddam Hussein, Adolf Hitler, Stalin, Pinochet, and many others who committed unspeakable atrocities against their own people. But the world regularly remembers for good the glorious contributions of people like Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln, Pope John Paul II, Nelson Mandela, Mary Slessor, and scores of others who touched humanity in very amazing ways. Now, why do leaders fail? The question again, why do leaders fail? 1. It is important to realize that the key elements of love and hate clearly underpin the two sets of leaders earlier mentioned. The effective leaders succeeded because they had true love for their followers. But on the contrary, the despotic ones, like Savimbi, ruled their people with iron fists and had nothing in them to engender or promote compassion and empathy. They simply had no loving spirit. So generally speaking, they failed in leadership because they ruled without love. They undermined the sovereignty of their people and dwelt more on their personal killer instincts. But most importantly, they did not believe that their citizens had a right to life and liberty. 2. Serving without passion. Many leaders fail because they have no emotional attachment to the call of duty. Even when they have a vision, they are not committed to the full realization of that vision, and so they become victims of a lost opportunity. Leaders must be devoted to their jobs in spite of special challenges that may come their way. By being laid back, leaders send the wrong signals to the people under them, and this adversely affects their morale and the command structure of the entire organization or government. 3. Not having the right frame of mind. A good leader must be mentally disposed to his work. A leader who does not have the right mental attitude will naturally be lethargic and may not be able to avoid or avert stress conditions. And because he is distracted, he will be unable to motivate or inspire. Leaders in this category usually end up as alcoholics. 4. Failure to delegate responsibility. Leaders who do not delegate responsibility are the ones consumed by the I alone syndrome. Sometimes they are afflicted by a bloated ego and a larger-than-life image of themselves. They hardly trust their subordinates. Everything must stop at their desk. In no time, they are left to their own design because those under their authority simply get withdrawn, waiting and watching how the much expected failure will occur. 5. Love of authority. This attitude is very common these days, whereby prospective leaders jostle vigorously for positions simply for the sake of authority and power. But no sooner than they attain such positions that they begin to jettison the responsibilities that go with their brief. Progressively, they become less and less enthusiastic, and ultimately, leadership suffers a huge setback. Leaders in this class usually mount the saddle without any set goals or blueprint. They are what sociologists call ceremonial leaders. Why? Because they only love the big moment, the big occasion that proceeds with colors and garlands. And 6, leadership without focus. A lot of leaders just waddle through their offices. They do not act with care or sound judgment, and neither do they pay attention to details. They may have a work plan, but this is not followed with tact or precision. Leaders here are sloppy because they lack creativity and imagination. And because they are not meticulous, a lot of things can go wrong outside their knowledge. Leaders who are not focused are usually unable to adapt or cope with the demands of their portfolios, meaning that they often deliberately avoid tough and intimidating challenges. This attitude poses a lot of problems for corporate bodies in particular, because in the corporate world, you need to adapt very strongly to set goals to be able to have an edge over your competitors. 7, greed and selfishness. These two negative attributes are more or less like Siamese twins. Unfortunately, they are perhaps the greatest reason for leadership failure today. Many governments and corporate organizations fail because their leaders are chiefly concerned with their own personal interest or pleasure and unwholesome acquisition of material wealth. And finally, 8, lack of integrity. As earlier declared, a leader who wears integrity as a shield is an enormous asset to any organization or government. Any leader who has integrity as a strong point will be fearless and therefore emboldened to make some decisions that might turn out in the long run to be in the best interest of his organization. Any government or corporate body that is headed by a leader who has no integrity is headed for failure from the onset. That's why philosophers insist that when integrity is lost, virtually all is lost. And that's our bit for today. Thank you very much for being with us. Next time we'll be back with another topic. On behalf of the staff of Providence Television International, this is Emmanuel Igariba in Benin.